Cassian Andor. He's a rebel spy, super bad friend. Give you a hug at the very end. Make that man feel like 100. He's the rogue one for me. Hit you ass up, he's not in the show. Is he a fish or a thief? He's Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor. With MakingStarWars.net.
Hey, YouTube.com. I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Acolyte and a little bit about Andor. And I don't know how long today's show will be, but we'll see, because you just never can tell. But let's get to the news really quickly and get it started, because that's a thing that we do. And so if you guys remember, over the last couple of weeks, Ahsoka and Naruto are two users that have been sharing things from Acolyte. Now, you know, I don't see what they see, so everything is mostly kind of a guess. I don't know, or I should say, I've seen things that they've seen, like concept art and stuff like that, but I don't know how deep they're getting into character and plot stuff with like sources working on the production, especially with it not having filmed yet. So I don't know exactly how accurate this stuff will be in the big picture, because when it comes, that's where I'm like, this is like my only reservation. My reservations about their info is not that they're illegitimate or that they're dumb or messing it up or anything like that. It's just more of, there's a lot of gold here in the sense that they clearly are looking at real concept art for sure. And that stuff is going to really tell us a lot about what is in the series, what the series is going for, what the tone is likely to be, and so on. But it hasn't filmed yet. So with that, without having that extra layer of confirmation of what has transpired, it's a little bit hard to say, this is how it's going to go. Trust us. Go with it. You're dumb if you don't. But the concept art that they have is telling a story. And I don't know to what extent, it'll change, if at all. This might be like dead on. So let's not go in and take it not seriously, but let's also go and say, hey, this hasn't filmed yet. So let's see. But I think that they're doing a great job, and they just started a new website, and it's fulcrumleaks.weebly.com. So that is their site. And I think they said that they're going to update Sundays and Wednesdays. I want to say it was what they announced. So I suggest bookmarking the site. I think that they've been really cool guys. I think they're guys. I don't even know if they're guys, but they've been really cool people. And they've been, really open and sharing and stuff like that. And so I appreciate it. I think it's good. I think it's how the Star Wars spoiler community should be, instead of a bunch of babies who don't have a stake in it, that are wannabes trying to control it and manipulate it and make it terrible, which is a thing. So I appreciate them. Wanted to say that, between Bespin Bulletin and Ahsoka and Naruto, I like where we're at currently with the spoiler stuff. That whole like what Chris is saying. Jason, are you working on an elite culture documentary the same way Colin Hanks made the music piss doc? I could. I mean, it's a little bit weird though. It's a little bit, I don't know if anybody's like leak story is the same. For instance, I don't know anything about Ahsoka's and Naruto's like source is. I don't know anything about it. So whatever I say is not like insight. Just to be clear. And if I accidentally get something totally right, I don't want them to be like, "Oh my god, why'd you say that?" Because I mean, this is just me guessing based off of what we, what we've seen. But it just seems like they probably know somebody who's working at the new studio. That that seems to be, and they seem to be European. I don't know where they're from. So, but they seem to be European. And so when you put all of that together, you're like, okay, like for instance, they seem to have somebody who just fell into the position or something there and is able to tell them everything. And now they know. And that's how it goes sometimes, Sometimes people that just end up being cast in Star Wars, or they end up, you know what I mean, or they get a job there, or they're filming it down the street from you, like they are like Mandalorian for me. It's very, very close. And Dell, you better hurry up, Dell. I ain't gonna wait all day. You're on notice. And hey, thank you for becoming a channel member, Chiv. I appreciate it. And thanks to Cadence, before I forget, gave out like a ton of memberships last week, or in the last week, and I appreciate that, dude. You are super nice, and I do appreciate it, man. Anyways, though, so what I'm trying to say is that the stuff that they're releasing is likely going to be very on, and if it's not, there may just be like subtle little differences, you know what I mean, for the most part. But the general vibe of what happens and stuff like that, I think, is going to be on. Excuse me. And I wouldn't cover it if I didn't believe in it. Like, there's a lot of stuff you could cover just to be like, oh, look how wrong it was. Not doing that. I wouldn't do that. But I definitely think that they are on. And I like their attitude. They seem to be cool. So they write, thank you all for your response to our Tales of the Jedi full breakdown that we posted and have been discussing for the past few weeks. We figured that we should do the same for the Acolyte, sort of tie together all the various tweets into something cohesive. However, this time we will be breaking down everything down by episode. Also, keep in mind, Tales of the Jedi is a completed show. The Acolyte is very much still in the beginning stages of production. Details could change for any number of reasons, and this is all we know at the moment. So, unless they're in the chat right now and want to confirm one way or the other, I think that this stuff is based off of the concept art and what the concept art is implying. And sometimes concept art can be spirit of. Sometimes you could extrapolate from concept art implied things that aren't necessarily it. So let's just be open to that. But it doesn't mean it's not 100% it. Okay. So Ara, our main character, and remember, these are all code names, although I would not be surprised if Ara is actually the right name. Ara, our main character, lives in a small village on a planet called Sanshiro with her little sister Miri and grandfather Theo Huxtable. Both she and her sister are force sensitive. Ara is about 12 and Miri is about 13. Miri is about 3. So very little kid. The planet is covered in wet marshland, scattered with jagged rocks that shoot out of the ground at an angle. And I've seen some of this stuff, and that is very much how they describe it is exactly what it looks like. Close to their village, a tribe of aliens who are close to their village lives a tribe of aliens that are native. So they're sentient, but not fully. They're sentient, but not fully sentient. Still quite hunter-gatherer type beings. The villages are likely colonizers who arrived on the planet long before. Theo and Ara are sitting in their home, a dirty, rundown shack of sorts, and Theo is telling Theo is telling her a story. The story is about her parents in the stars. They aren't present, likely dead. So I gotta say, like this right here, the story about parents in the stars, like that implies that this isn't concept-based information. So if it's not concept-based information and it's like stuff that they're actually like supposed to have, that's really pretty specific. Gotta say, like, I never saw anything. I've had hundreds of pieces of concept art from the films and television shows over the years, and never did I ever have anything that would let me say the story is about her parents and the stars, you know? So I think that's from a source knowing something. Ara then takes Miri out on a boat ride. This is what he talked about on the show. On a boat ride down a river close to their house, and they watch the stars in the sky, perhaps to see if they could see their parents. At the end of the stream, Ara sees a tall figure in the distance. As they get closer, she realizes it's one of the aliens. It begins to attack the sisters, and they abandon their boat, quickly running back to the village. A few Jedi arrive on the planet to help them, and one of them makes a deal with the grandfather. This particular Jedi has a Padawan named Melody, the same age as Ara. They befriend each other at some point. The contents of the deal are unknown to Ara, and we later find out that in exchange for long-lasting protection, Theo has agreed to give up Miri to the Order. Attack. The aliens wreak havoc on the village, but Theo and the Jedi fight them and win. Ara begs continuously for the Jedi to take her too, but they refuse as she is too old to begin her training. She watches Miri be taken away. And then we know that they came on the show and dropped a couple of things in the past. I think it was on the show where they said basically that in the next episode, or episode 2, I think it's episode 2, the Jedi don't come back in time when they are attacked again, and it's likely the Sith Lord who arms the natives, if you will, and has them attack. So sounds interesting, like where it's going. I will say though, I think that based off of that description, this is likely everything that they know of episode 1. But unless these are 22-minute episodes, I think there's got to be a lot more in there, like in terms of like outline. Just like when I think back to the stuff when I had to outline episode 1 of Kenobi, no way I could have done it like in this amount of space. So I don't think this is complete. Not to say it's not the beginning, the middle, and the end of the episode necessarily, but there's probably a lot of stuff that's going to be in here that isn't there too. Once again, not trying to throw shade on their work at all. Just trying to evaluate exactly what the story is likely going to be. And then they have this other article here, exclusive, and it says that Scipio is in the Acolyte, home of the intergalactic baking clan. Today we have something very exciting to share with you all, with the series being about dark side users and the Sith and set 100 years before the Phantom Menace. There's always been the question, will there be any Sith Lords in the Acolyte? Well, while we are as much in the dark about that as you are there an interesting piece of concept? There is an interesting piece of concept art that our source has shared with us. The art is of a planet called Gan with huge snowy mountains. See, they keep saying called, and I think they mean they should say its code word is Gan. Like it's not called Gan if it's Scipio, right? So that should be a code. With huge snowy mountain, tall cities with sort of tentacles and a bell-shaped roof. If I got my stuff correct, if I'm understanding this right. After discussing with our source, the planet in the concept appears to actually be Scipio from Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So yeah, so it's a code. And like I said, most of the stuff is probably a code, and should probably be treated as such. There will be an asshole on Reddit who's like, excuse me, you said her, it was called Gan, and it's like, well, it's not. It's called Scipio, and that's literally what they're saying. But I do think that that's going to be a thing. Like Paul Paul is clearly not going to be a Sith Lord named Paul. Like that's a code name. So Paul, because you didn't know, Scipio in the current canon is the headquarters of the intergalactic baking clan. Paul brings Ara to this planet. Possible connection there? I think so. I think we're going to see that very early on. The Sith Lord started to manipulate the money, and that was always a big aspect of Darth Plagueis in the original story, the original EU novel, was that they became arms dealers because Star Wars is a good place to cause war and make profit off of it. So sorry, I can't read today. We don't know what this could mean for familiar characters showing up, but it's a very interesting piece of information. Stay tuned for episode breakdowns coming soon. And right there, they're clearly alluding to, does it mean Darth Plagueis? And then we got the Acolyte alien bug creatures in Sith temples. So the Acolyte is still in its pre-production phase, and so no filming updates or set photos. However, we do have exclusive concept art descriptions to share with you today. Feather, one with the A, one without. And by the way, it's driving me mad because I know I've heard this before. This name or this code was in something else, and I can't place it. It's driving me crazy. Planet codename is home to a bunch of huge bug-like monsters, almost a mix of the aliens from Alien and a beetle. It is possible they are some sort of hive mind like the Geonosians. They live in a huge mountain covered in holes. It's a sandy, rocky place. On this planet, there is a mountain with a palace on top. And once again, begs the question, or is there just concept art showing what would it look like if there was one? Volent, another piece of concept art, shows a Malachor-like Sith pyramid temple with a red glow. The Acolytes stand in front of it. Other concept art for an unnamed planet shows a snowstorm. Other planet names, Chengbei. So I'm Chang bisexual. I love Chang. Exclusive the Acolyte. Our main character's home planet. So here we go. We have some fun concept art to share with you today. Our source has made us aware of 3 concepts that were made for our home planet, codenamed Shenshiro. Concept A, clear sky, snowy hill, mountain peaks in the background. Concept B, marshland and mountains. The planet is overcast and misty. The mountains look like stone pillars that just up into the clouds. The terrain is a marsh, dense green wetlands, with a river cutting through it. The river meanders and breaks off into smaller areas. The planet is very flat with the spires scattered around. Not concept art. This is just very close to what it looks like. Not concept art. This is from that other production. This is from that. Anyways, in the corner of this particular concept B, there is a black-robed figure holding a red lightsaber facing the viewer. We only see their arm and lightsaber. In concept D, desert planet. According to our source, the team went with concept B for Shenshiro. This definitely fits in line with what we've been told about the first 2 episodes of the series. What I find interesting about this is that Shenshiro and Sensiro. So there's a novel called Shenshiro, and I thought maybe there was a connection. Maybe that's where the code came from. But if there are 2 different spellings of it like that, it's likely that one of those is actually truly what it's called. And I think Shenshiro is the one that we keep seeing more of, or the one that they've seen more of. Anyway, so maybe that's the most likely contender. This definitely fits in line with what we've been told about the first 2 episodes of the series. We'll be breaking those episodes down very soon. So, which they did, which we already went over. But yeah. So okay, so see, they've already done a story called Character Codenames and Descriptions. So if you've been reading along with them, not doing it backwards like us, everything makes sense. But unfortunately, that's not the way that the internet reads things. So take it from Grandpa Spoiler on that one. You gotta lay it out every time because people are dumb. Today we have 5 exclusive character names. So Ara, lead, strong, fighter, and a duelist. Codename previously reported by the Illuminati back in November of 2021. Miri, Ara's younger sister. So she's like the 3-4-year-old that's taken to the Jedi Temple to become a Jedi. Well, she will go on her Jedi path. And once again, love this idea of two sisters. One's becoming a Sith Lord, one's becoming a Jedi. And the Sith Lord wants her sister back. And that's going to be some interesting drama. Paul, Sith Lord, but he doesn't seem like one. White human male with white hair, rich and effortlessly fancy. He's a super wealthy arms dealer selling weapons to a village. He is the Sith Lord associated with the Acolytes. Only in the first season, dies at the end. So, yeah, I wonder if it's is it going to be that, you know, Pan and Ara kill the Sith Lord and then become it in that process and now have access to, you know, the library, if you will, of Sith knowledge, and it goes that way? Or could it be that Paul is the apprentice trying to get acolytes like Ventress so that way they can team up and become the Sith Lords themselves, but instead Paul bites the dust? Because that would actually, if you wanted to elongate the series, or if the series has, you know, multiple seasons, if they kill the Sith Lord, then the actual Sith Lord's probably going to want to word with them, and then would also end up pitting them against one another eventually. So there's story opportunities there, depending on, well, the story opportunities are either way, but depending on how it, on how they organize this, you know, different meanings. Melody is a Jedi Padawan friend of Ara, and that's who they talked about on the show, on when they came on the show in the chat. They were talking about how Melody is this Jedi and she becomes friends with Ara, and like they take her sister, but then later on, Ara has to kill Melody to prove to Paul that she's serious and wants to go with them. And since the Jedi let her down and took her sister and won't let her see her sister, I don't think Ara has big problems with going down that path. And then Theo, Ara and Miri's grandfather, special guest star, 2 episodes, looking for an established actor of color in their 60s or 70s. So they're looking for Bill Cosby. Sorry, every time I see Theo, that's what I think of. Pan, best friend character, CGI alien, pansexual. He is political and mystical. So, and Pan does sound a lot like Plagueis. If Pan ends up being a mun or immune, maybe we're going to see Pan become, you know, named Darth Plagueis someday. Could go that way. Hard to say, though. You never know. And then let's look at their Tales of the Jedi Dooku episode breakdowns. If you guys want to. You guys down to look at that stuff again? Because I am excited for it. I'm actually pretty jazzed about this show. I think it's going to be pretty cool. Okay. Dooku episode 1. They don't know which episode comes first. At the start of the episode, the Jedi Knights, Dooku and Mace Windu, are assigned to investigate the death of Master Cathri, who disappeared whilst on a mission. And that's how I know you're a European right there. Or you want to be fancy and you're like a redneck. They arrive on the planet in a big city, sort of modern. Once there, the Jedi ask to see Senator Larrick. The townspeople welcome them with open arms. They seem to be very pro-Jedi. They ask the senator to see the dead master's body. Note, this is not shown on screen, but it's obvious from the viewer's perspective. We then cut to a scene of Mace and Dooku alone again. They seem to feel that something is wrong. The townspeople and senator have been acting strangely. While Mace suggests they follow the council's orders, transport the body and bring it back to Coruscant, Dooku wants to investigate more. His friend doesn't let him, and Dooku gets a little stressed. They both have different opinions, but eventually Mace gives in. So I like that, just this idea or this setting of there was an era where Mace Windu and Count Dooku were Jedi together on, you know, routine missions. It's just cool, you know. It's just not something that you really think about. I like where their heads were on that, you know. I'm curious if George Lucas had anything to do with any of this stuff. Anyways, the pair go into the forest to locate the place of the master's assassination. After being told by the senator that she was killed by a group of rebels, But after looking around and finding huge blaster bolts all over the trees and the ground, they discovered that these bolts came from a ship owned by the city, which is still in the sky. Mace and Dooku immediately ignite their lightsabers, and Dooku charges towards some troops that just arrived, but Mace holds him back. So I'm a little confused about how they can tell the blaster bolts came from the ship. Like, how do you put that together? But okay. In regards to the murder, Mace says something along the lines of, she would have listened, she would have understood. There was no need to kill her. When everything's solved and they're boarding the ship back to Coruscant, Dooku says this: it's good that we're led by our council, not by politics nor ego. That is a word-for-word quote from the episode. It's good that we're led by our council and not by politics nor ego. Oh, Mace Windu, how far you will, or sorry, Dooku, how far you will fall. But you're right. I mean, that is what the council is going towards, and that is exactly what the Sith manipulate. And he sees it coming, it seems. Once they return the body to the council, Mace receives a promotion, but not Dooku. The viewer can tell he is sad, maybe angry, but also not the one to shout or visibly display it to his peers. He speaks with Mace and says something along the lines of, we were both on the mission. Why were you the only one promoted? It's evident that the reason he wasn't promoted was because of how he acted regarding the body. The council doesn't fully trust him just yet. Also, obviously, they have the source on this, not me. But I'm going to say that it also Mace following what the council wants and the council's orders means he's a company man. He's their boy. He does what they want, and of course they're going to promote him and not Dooku. So even if it's not about how he acted to the body, you know, or is that what they're saying? I'm not sure, but because we also know that he loses his temper a little bit. So if the order is flipped a little bit, you know, it could be because of some of his actions. But anyways, we are not 100% confident what kind of promotion Mace receives. Our source believes it's both to the rank of master and a seat on the council, but also not 100% confident. It's possible that Mace just received a seat on the council instead of the rank of master. See, once again, this part right here, I respectfully disagree with, because Anakin's like, you're putting me on the council, but not making me a master. So that's not how it's done. And then Obi-Wan's like, yeah, none of this makes sense. None of this is how this is how it's done. So I think we can reduce that they are already Jedi and that he got promoted to the council, and Count Dooku did not. And also could be a reason why Dooku ultimately rejects the Jedi for the Sith so easily. That's my take right now. Could be wrong now. And once again, they have the source, not me. So I'm respecting their take. No, our source also cannot exactly remember why they killed the master. Our source says it's more like the city did something wrong, which would have had consequences. I mean, there was a reason the master was on the planet in the first place. So she was there to investigate a problem in the city, and before she could find out what, she was killed. That's why May says that she would have listened. She would have understood there was no need to kill her. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a little like, you know, when you're trying to cover up a crime and then in a story, and then somebody kills somebody to cover up the crime. So when they could have just let him go, like in Breaking Bad when that kid comes over on that little dirt bike. All right, Dooku and his Padawan Qui-Gon Jinn are on a mission to rescue a senator's child from a village. The village itself is very run-down, bad condition. They only agree because the senator himself is a little corrupt. This makes them want to understand him more. After the child is rescued, the senator arrives with an army hoping to free the child himself, but Dooku defends the village from the senator. He aims his blaster at Dooku, who force chokes him. Note, not beheads as we had previously believed. So force chokes him. Qui-Gon is shocked and tries to stop Dooku, but he is force pushed away. Eventually, the child comes out and stops the Jedi Master from killing their father. Qui-Gon wrestles with his feelings towards his master's behavior. So we kind of see Qui-Gon seeing that Dooku is a bit corrupt or a bit off his rocker. And I think that kind of makes sense, though, because I think when you have a rebel, and Qui-Gon Jinn is supposed to be a rebel, that's sort of how he's laid out in all of this, is that he's like a rebellious Jedi. I think you kind of become rebellious against your parents when you don't believe in what they're doing, or you start to see through the hypocrisy of your parents, so to speak. And that's probably why we end up seeing him go, you know what? I know that people, because you're in power and you should know this how to do this stuff right, doesn't mean you do, and why he follows his own way. So I kind of like that, if that's where the story's going. So Dooku episode 3. This episode begins with Dooku on Coruscant. The opening sequence is set in the middle of the Phantom Menace, right before Qui-Gon presents Anakin to the Council. Dooku and his former Padawan discuss the Sith Lord that Qui-Gon encountered on Tatooine. Although Dooku may know more about Darth Maul than he is showing, as he is likely working with Palpatine at this point. Which, by the way, also kind of makes the Plagueis story from the novel, if any of that stuff is supposed to be happening, very convoluted. It would literally mean that Plagueis is the Sith Lord, Palpatine is the apprentice, Darth Maul is the secret apprentice who he's calling a Sith Lord even though he's not supposed to, and Dooku is right there waiting for him. So there's a lot going. It's a bit much, I think. I think that this story kind of pushes the Plagueis is a Jedi Master of Palpatine during the Phantom Menace concept out of the picture, in my opinion. For the future, for the possibilities in the future. Could be wrong though. Qui-Gon then goes to speak to the Council, and we cut to the next scene. Time jump, set right after the Phantom Menace. Dooku is at a more official funeral ceremony on Coruscant for Qui-Gon. If you remember, the initial funeral was on Naboo, so this is the Coruscant funeral. He is visibly sad. Ki-Adi-Mundi gives a speech. He's like, I have a dickhead, but he truly was a dickhead, and I will miss him. Sometime after the funeral, Dooku is looking through the archives. There, he deletes Kamino from all of the records. He knows about the clones, likely from Palpatine. It's also hinted that Palpatine told him to delete the records. Dooku then leaves the temple, and Yaddle, who was watching him the whole time, becomes suspicious and sneakily follows him out. Note, Yaddle does not speak backwards. Yeah, Yaddle's speech and stuff like that was set as canon in the High Republic, I believe. Dooku then arrives at an area that could be the Works of Coruscant. The Works of Coruscant is the place where Dooku and Darth Sidious have their secret meetings at the end of Attack of the Clones and stuff. And it meets Palpatine, Darth Sidious inside. They discuss Darth Maul and his downfall, both still believing him to be dead. Qui-Gon and Sifo-Dyas are also mentioned. So the fact that Sifo-Dyas is mentioned clearly is going to lay out exactly how the clones work. In my opinion, you don't mention Sifo-Dyas unless, well, I guess you could say Qui-Gon's dead, Sifo-Dyas is dead. All we have left is Mace Windu, who's an asshole who got promoted over me. Fuck that guy. I mean, that's kind of Dooku's perspective, right? When we see Yaddle slam open the door, stare the duo down, and ignite her lightsaber, note, Yaddle does not see who Sidious is. See, I always found this part to be like, so what? She's gonna die. So if she sees who he is or not, I don't know why they would make a big deal out of that. Not Ahsoka and Naruto, but why would Lucasfilm make a big deal out of it? Who gives a shit? She could know. In fact, it's probably better if she learns the secret and is like, what the fuck? And then is killed before she could tell anybody. But also, Yaddle, call for backup, girl. Come on. All right. She asks Dooku why he's doing this, why he's conspiring with the enemy. He replies, I see through the Order's lies, their hypocrisy, sort of answer, something along those lines. Yaddle then attacks him, and they duel. She is very powerful, and there's a lot of stunts. So I'm going to guess it's sort of like Yoda. Our source was very taken aback by what they saw in the fight. Eventually, Dooku gets the upper hand, and is urged by Sidious to kill her. He ignites his blue lightsaber and strikes her down, which they released the video for. So in case anybody's ever doubting them, boy, if they fake that, they are fucking good. I mean, like really good. I believe it's real. I don't think there should be any shade cast upon the authenticity of that video. Palpatine then proclaims him as Darth Tyrannus. Which, by the way, I dig that name, and you never hear it. They always go with Dooku. They always prefer to use Dooku. End of episode. So it's unclear whether or not he's still part of the Order. It's not explicitly stated, but our source believes he is, and it's heavily hinted at. Did the Dooku bust stay in the Jedi library, or was that just from the cutscenes? I can't remember now. But it clearly is like he leaves, and they hope he's going to come back. So they also believe this to be Dooku's last day in the Order, although if he's already left at this point, it may just be the point at which he cuts ties with the Order, or he doesn't altogether and goes on working with them. It's unclear. Our source originally thought it was Geonosis. It has that sort of vibe, and the atmosphere is orange, but after showing him some other photos from the trailer for comparison, they said it very well could be Coruscant. I think this is the stuff about the works, probably. Our source originally believed this was Palpatine and Dooku's first meeting, but it's highly unlikely that it's highly likely that they've been meeting for a while beforehand. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's a process, you know. You don't just turn Anakin Skywalker overnight. I don't think you would turn Dooku overnight. Confirmed in a leaked video, now taken down for copyright of Yaddle being killed by Dooku, 100%. It's unclear how the Jedi find out about her death. Thank you so much for reading. And on Twitter, you can follow them at Fulcrum Leaks. Excuse me. So, yeah. So, and then they got the Ahsoka full episode breakdown. And we'll take a little break from reading that stuff for a second. So, yeah. What are you saying here? Mr. Kais? What if Bespin Ahsokas are made up by a certain content creators to create hype? Shows to talk about these days of uncertainty. I just need to see someone or a voice. Cheers to Meg. Yeah, no. Bespin has been around for years, and I can tell you for certain, they were not created for that. And the truth is that it doesn't really work that way. See, what they do is they create a PR team. They basically have their own, they either have their own PR people or they hire a PR firm, and that's supposed to create the hype. So you would have to have some sort of like, we want to do this indie thing and we're going to like, you know, pretend like it's leaks, but it's really like us releasing the official stuff. Like, that's cool, right? Not really. Because people don't look at spoilers. You release a photo from Andor, and it's going to have millions of views collectively. You release a photo of a clip of Yaddle dying, it's going to probably have under 100,000 views. Biggest day on my site from memory, I could be wrong, but I think it's about 260,000 views in a day, and that was in 2015 at the height of Star Wars fever when it came back. It just wouldn't be worth it. It just would not be worth to do any kind of behind the scenes, like secret, we're pretending to be leakers kind of thing. The truth is that leaks, the company itself doesn't seem to care about leaks except for when it ruins their PR rollout. That's how they roll. Like, they didn't really seem to give, I'm not saying that they didn't care, but they seem to get mad when I released like when I drew the posters for The Last Jedi. That was one time they got pissed off at me and told me. And so it definitely would not make sense for it to happen any other way. And I've actually had people levy that against me, say that like I'm a shill and oh, the only reason why you have spoilers is because they give it to you, so that way you could, you could go and then release it and get us ready for it. And it's just like, once again, spoiler community, not that big. I wish it was, because boy, we'd make a lot more money. Just to be honest with you guys, if that was the case, it's just not. It's pretty small. And it's like I went and released everything from Kenobi. Pretty much everything. And looking at like the views of that stuff and like, the exposure of it barely permeates into the film community, if you will. Like the film community at large doesn't know what we're talking about, doesn't know what we're looking at usually. So also, though, it's also why I don't think that it's spoilers are really that bad of a thing. It's why I think it's generally okay. But yeah, hey, Mr. Kindness, how you doing, dude? Mr. Dave. Luz says it makes sense because in Attack of the Clones, May says he couldn't have been Dooku, who was behind the assassination attempt of Padme, saying it's not in his nature. He was once a Jedi. Yeah. You believe that they don't think it could happen. They don't see him coming. That's always how that stuff happens. It's always, very obvious who would become that. I mean, even if it's somebody who does spoilers or Better Call Saul, I mean, like you get into all of this stuff and it's like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, but Roland knows Tyrannus is a dope name. I know that's what I would be using. I'd be like, yeah, my name is Tyrannus. You can call me Ty. But yeah, I don't know why Lucas though didn't give him a different name, Fancy Pants, and then make his name like Darth Dooku, because he clearly preferred Dooku in the end though. He went with Tyrannus, but then like and Dooku I believe means poison in Japanese is what I heard. It might mean scooter, old man on a scooter for all I know, but that's what I heard. Thanks for your point of view. Tyrannus sounds awesome, but please, no violet face. Yeah, it sounds like a fucking dinosaur though, which is kind of funny because he's an old dinosaur in a way. But yeah. All right, let's look over at the Andor images real quick because I forgot to do that up front. Some Andor images are out, some new stills, and we just kind of see Andor once again in that mining town. Gotta say, this one, when I look at it from this angle, does look a lot like what they're filming for Kenobi and stuff, though, on that one. But, however, this one, holy shit, does this look good? Like, I mean, that is just fucking rad, it's pretty high res, too. You can see, like, lady with the weird neck thing talking to Andor right here. And he's like, I just want you to know I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And then right here we got that lady that we saw in the other shot, and the other still, and it looked like to me like she was putting like a charge down or something. And then like we got these guys right here drinking, and I gotta say that guy right there looks like he's kind of an asshole. Looks like he's kind of stressed out. But Bar looks cool though, gotta say, it's pretty. The use of light is pretty rad. Some little Star Wars bar stools here, but yeah, there's a lot that I think looks very very cool from this show. And then we got wet Andor. It's got like you could see somebody's hand is up there, so looks like they're like, hey, don't kill me or don't rob me. Think he's robbing him? Think he was a robber? But yeah, bearded Andor doing bearded Andor stuffs. And then we got this one. This is Andor, and you can see us back at the village. The village that maybe was like his home world. I don't know, but that place outside of Pinewood. Is that Ferrix, or is Ferrix where the miners are? I can't keep it straight lately. I'll eventually learn this stuff, though, I swear. I promise. But then let's go over to my buddy Bespin Bulletin's website, where you can learn all the Bespin news. And yeah, there we go. So this was the big thing. Bad Batch season 2 no longer dated for September 28th. And so yeah, Bad Batch is likely delayed. Things likely changed when the Andor dates changed. Question is will we see it this year or not? I have no idea. I'm gonna use you could go to Bespin Bulletin to read all of these articles. And then, but he hits on all of the stuff I don't really need an article for. Obi-Wan Kenobi, A Jedi's Return, to release on September 8th. And that's going to be a behind the scenes kind of thing on Disney Plus, where you could watch a behind the scenes of the Kenobi series. And it's coming on Disney Plus Day. If they're actually releasing something on Disney Plus Day this time. So that way people don't go, you didn't release anything. So that's smart. Jedi Survivor tie-in novels announced, hints at game's release date. And yeah, this one right here, they definitely, you could tell when they intend to release the game based off of this. There have been times in the past, though, where games have been delayed and books have been shelved for that time. So Lucasfilm announced that a novel set 5 years before the events of Fallen Order and Survivor will be released on March 7th, 2023. So that means right around that time, between March and April, is the window for the game. And the Art of Star Wars Jedi Survivor will release on May 2nd. So I don't think they would do the art before the game. And so May 2nd and March. So March, April, May. So I would say likely an April release date, probably. Most likely somewhere around there for the game. That seems the most likely to me. And then Knights of the Old Republic remake releasing before 2025 is considered wishful thinking. And that's based off of this other article. Recent comments from Knights of the Old Republic remake publishers seem to confirm report to the project moving studios. No delay expected. But this is saying, no, there's going to be a delay for sure. But it does confirm the changing studio stuff. So this article right here, not Bespin's scoop, but the article that they're referencing is kind of just more of a rehash saying, yeah, it changed. So it's kind of a non-story there. And then we got Christopher Lloyd, which we've already talked about on this show. You can watch the last episode, I think, for that. And then more about the Acolyte stuff. So that about sums up what's been going on with all of the, Star Wars news, if you will. Hey, then, man, I see you peeking around. But, yeah, so trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to hit before we call it a day. But I think we hit on everything. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to talk about Star Wars. And I will come back on if any major news breaks and let you guys know. So make sure you have the bell clicked on so that way, that giant bell from the start of Andor. I need to make a video with that from Andor saying to click the bell before somebody else does it. It steals my idea. But you should do that. And that way, if I do come on, And yeah, I'll be back, though, if anything happens. And be cool. Stay in school. I'm losing my voice because I did Star Wars Santa show for 2 hours before this one. But anything else happens, I'll see you guys then. And have a good day. See you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody, for being a channel member, for supporting the show. I appreciate it a lot. Subscribe to the channel. You monsters. Bye, guys.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go.
It's not about spaceships.